A journey's end, a mission failed. Corvo returns to Dunwall. A plague threatens the lives of everyone living in the capital, and the very unity of the Empire itself. Hundreds had already lost their lives, but the outbreak was still spreading from district to district. Corvo Attano, the Lord Protector and father of the Empress's daughter, had scoured every kingdom in the Empire, seeking aid, but he found nothing. He returned home, docking at Dunwall Tower to break the bad news to the Empress. Upon arrival, he embraced young Lady Emily, his daughter, and the only heir to the throne. In these dark times, she brought genuine joy to Corvo, and wished to spend more time with her, but duty calls. He passed Anton Sokolov, the royal physician, who was painting in the palace gardens. He was currently the Empire's best hope at developing a cure for the plague, and was said to have one of the greatest minds in the Isles. Corvo hoped to the outsider that this was true, so these dark times could end sooner. Sokolov's subject was Thaddeus Campbell, the High Overseer for the Abbey of the Everyman. This was a militaristic religion that dominated belief across the Isles. They declared war against the outsider and his realm, punishing all those who doubt in his dark arts. They both greeted Corvo with respect, but their minds were set on the plague. It had taken a mental toll on them both. Corvo approached the gazebo where his fair empress waited, only to find her arguing yet again with Hiram Burrows. He was a royal spymaster, and had his own opinions on how to deal with the plague. For a long time, he proposed that the infected should be contained in a segregated district in the city. Perhaps this made sense to some extent, but Jasmine had to consider the lives of everyone in the city, and to her, Burrows' ideas were too extreme. The spymaster was dismissed, and greeted Corvo with surprise, not expecting him home 3 days early. Corvo thought nothing of it, glad to be left alone for his reunion with Jessamine. The Empress seemed tired, conflicted, and desperate. She was running out of options for how to deal with the plague, and the news Corvo brought didn't ease her worries. If the plague got any worse, the other kingdoms threatened to blockade the city. With political ties already strained across the Empire, it was somewhat clear the other kingdoms could see this as a chance to rebel. It had all gone quiet as Jasmine relented over the news, but Emily did her best to take her mother's mind off things, just for a moment. Then they realized the guards had left. Assassins came for Empress Jessamine. Wielding the dark powers from the void, they were able to blink from one place to another in a second. With their knives drawn, they reached their target in moments of entering the palace grounds. How fortunate that Corvo returned from his mission so early. He defended Jessamine and Emily, defeating the assassins with decades of experience protecting those he loved. Finally, a pause, a moment to breathe. It looked like Corvo had won. But the assassins returned. They cast a spell on Corvo that froze him in place. He was powerless to do anything as he watched the assassin's leader face Jessamine. He dealt a fatal thrust of his knife, and the Empress fell. The assassin binding Corvo grabbed Emily and they disappeared without a trace, shortly followed by the malevolent leader. However, Corvo was freed, and he knelt by Jessamines side. For perhaps the first time since leaving his home all those years ago, Corvo was scared. As Jessamines life ended, the weight of the Empire fell upon him.
Corvo, it's all coming apart. Find Emily. Protect her. You're the only one. You'll know what to do. Won't you? Corvo.
He could trust no one, and vowed to carry out Jessamine's final command, or die trying. Only moments too late, the guards returned to the gazebo led by Burrows and Campbell. They took in the tragic sight. Lady Emily was gone, their empress murdered, with Corvo standing over her body. At once they came to the conclusion that Corvo was responsible, and before uttering a word of defense, he was knocked out. It is now the eve of Corvo's execution, 6 months since his love had been taken from him, since the Empire had lost its leader. 6 months for Burrows and Campbell to establish their new regime. Now that Corvo was imprisoned, they hadn't bothered hiding the truth from him. Burrows and Campbell had planned Jesmine's murder in hopes of taking control over Dunwall, to contain the plague within the city's poorest districts. Corvo had never felt rage like this. As he sat alone in his cell, waiting for the end, he found himself becoming desperate for a chance at revenge. but little did he know, his luck was about to change. A guard delivered his food, which hid a key to his cell, along with a letter. Corvo, who we are is irrelevant right now. Just know that we have faith in you. Here is the key to your cell. Once you're out, head for the prison's interrogation room. Take the explosive there and plant it on the outer door. When the bomb goes off, run. Make for the river and lose yourself in the sewers. You'll find some useful gear stashed there. One of the prison guards will leave a weapon just outside your cell, and good luck. We need you alive and well for what's to come. A friend. It detailed a plan for his escape, written by a very brave stranger. He didn't waste any time. He broke free of his cell and found his way back to the interrogation room. This was where Burroughs and Campbell had let their secret slide, something they would later regret. He found those smuggled explosives mentioned in the letter before reaching the main entrance. There were many guards along the way, but he stayed in the shadows to avoid their gaze. A part of him wanted to take out his anger right then and there, but he stopped himself. These men may now be a part of a new empire, but they were only following orders. So long as they didn't see him, he saw no reason to have to kill them. Even if they stood in his path, he could simply knock them out. He had always been a man of honor, not that it accounted for much now, but when this mess was over and Emily sat on the throne, Corvo didn't want to be remembered as a monster who lost control of his rage. He wanted to be remembered as a man to respect for all he did for the Empire and its people. He would get his revenge, but would avoid bloodshed wherever he could. Unfortunately, his time hiding in the shadows was over. The explosion in the main gates alerted everyone, but they were too late to react. Alarms sounded. A hail of bullets befell Corvo as he dived into the icy moat of Coldridge Prison. He swam to cover, entering the old sewers out of sight from the prison guards. This plan to escape just might work. The many tunnels and caverns posed few challenges, but also some clarity. Corvo found more letters from the strangers who were helping him. Greetings, Corvo, or should I say Lord Protector, as you were known before that title was wrongfully taken from you. We are servants of the Empire, and of the true Empress, a group of loyalists who want very much to meet you. Take these weapons, crafted for you of the finest materials in the Isles, and meet with our man Samuel, near where these tunnels spill into the Wrenhaven River. All haste and luck. We share a common purpose. They called themselves the Loyalists, and claimed to be on Corvo's side. They had rebelled against Burroughs, and also wanted justice for Jasmine's murder. He was eager to meet with them, and as he emerged into the afternoon sun, moored by the shores of the Wrenhaven River, was their boatman. Samuel was his name, and he took Corvo to meet his new allies. Admiral Farley Havelock was the first to meet the Lord Protector, along with Lord Trevor Pendleton. They made up the leadership of their growing resistance, along with their house staff and Piero, a skilled craftsman who made Corvo's gear. His latest gift was a mask to conceal Corvo's face and strike fear into the hearts of his enemies. They were based in the Hound Pits pub, a rundown neighbourhood that had been cornered off because of the plague. A perfect place then to plan out the downfall of Hiram Burroughs along with his allies. Havelock already had a target in mind for Corvo, but the day was late, and he was exhausted. Tomorrow he will start his revenge, but for now, all he wanted was a bed. But as he drifted off to sleep, he soon found himself in a nightmare. A world akin to his own, yet so unlike in many different ways. The air itself felt heavy, still, like he was wading through time itself. He felt his mind drained from the noises of chaos somewhere in the distance. As he stepped outside, he saw nothing, an endless space holding various structures that did not belong. But he felt power, immense corrupting power. It was everywhere, if only he could grasp it somehow. He climbed these strange structures and came face to face with a god. The outsider had taken Corvo from his dreams and brought him to the void, his source of power, his own realm. The black-eyed man expressed his interest in recent events and had decided to make Corvo his latest chosen. It was an incredibly rare and powerful gift, a mark to draw the powers from the void itself. With it, one could blink across great distances, possess other beings, or even stop time itself. Indeed, this would make things a lot easier. No matter what power he now possessed, Corvo wasn't given a say in the matter. Once again, choices were made for him, from being sent to Dunwall as a mere teenager, to having to save Emily and the Empire's future, now forced to accept a gift from a god hated by many. The outsider looked past Corvo's hesitance by reminding him of the recent events. He showed Corvo the past, Jessamines' body, still lying alone beneath the gazebo. He showed Corvo the present. Emily had become helpless, locked away with a pair of despicable lords. Finally, there was the future. Burroughs had enacted his tyranny over Dunwall and the rest of the Empire. Its people were oppressed, slaughtered for even being infected with the plague, for just trying to survive. It was enough to reignite that rage that burned within him. A final gift from the outsider, the heart of a living thing. It can find artifacts that could give Corvo new powers, or reveal the people's darkest secrets. Either way, it will be put to good use. And as Corvo awoke, he discovered it had been more than a dream. The outsider's mark remained burned into his skin. He could feel the presence of the void within him, a connection. Why had the outsider come to Corvo? What did he want? The truth was, the black-eyed man had some morbid curiosity towards events, past, present and future. He knew that his interference could make things just a bit more interesting. There would be no more delays. Havelock had chosen who would be the first to meet Corvo's Iron Mask. It was the man who stood beside Burroughs as he accused Corvo of regicide. The man who controlled the Empire's most influential and brutal religion. The man who knew where Lady Emily had been taken. High Overseer Thaddeus Campbell. I hope you enjoyed today's tale and the beginning of Corvo's quest for redemption. Next week, he'll be unleashed onto Dunwall and show the world just how dangerous one man could be. Please subscribe so you don't miss what happens next.